Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rayan, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Wednesday, September 28th. Seems like a blink, and this month is almost ended. 2022, a little after 3 p.m. Eastern. We're having a time for change call tonight at 9 p.m. Mucho information. Do not delude yourself by imagining your source to be some God outside you. Your source is within yourself. Give yourself up to it. Seek the source within and merge with it. Ramana Maharshi. We live in this world, and it's a world that ignores the fact that a supreme, divine, all-loving intelligence lives within us. We've been programmed to believe we are spiritually disconnected and must fix our broken selves to feel whole and reconnected again. We don't realize it, yet we are just used to feeling spiritually numb as we have been plagued every day of our lives by an overly materialistic society which is constantly seducing us with its glorified billion-dollar hypnotic media programming. We have contracted a deep case of spiritual amnesia and have forgotten how to relax into our spiritual essence and find our own intimate connection with the divine. This is an everyday ignorance of our spiritual nature, and it is the greatest lie mankind is living today. It is the cause of every moment of suffering each human being is currently enduring. Now, one may think this spiritual drought was created by mankind, coincidentally, and is not part of our grand divine design. And we know that nothing is by coincidence or without purpose in this universe. This blind ignorance is within us all on purpose, so that we move more passionately towards a state of awakening. These intense levels of disconnection only drive us deeper inside ourselves to find our own soul. Now, imagine, if we knew all this, right? We didn't have this grand design. We'd be really bored. We knew exactly what was going to happen, when it was going to happen. We'd be really bored. And it's true, because if you were to put yourself just for a moment in that existence, you would soon understand that it is not the direction. We wouldn't be motivated. We wouldn't have that drive to discover, because we'd already know, right? Now, this lifetime, or could be many lifetimes, that we have is meant to be a deeply enlightening experience. Now, is there anything more important than knowing how to access our own direct personal connection to an all-powerful, deeply eternal, loving source of highly intelligent, creative energy that has the magical power to manifest anything our heart desires? There's nothing more vital to finding happiness in life than knowing one's spiritual connection, and nothing more exciting than a proven way to access it, which works every time. Now, no matter how ridiculously stuck we may feel about our financial system, situation, relationships, health, sex life, future, there is always a way to reach freedom. If and when you wish to gain a greater spiritual perspective in this life, make the choice today to clarify your personal relationship with the divine. You can see just how far we've come on our spiritual journey by taking the risk to answer these questions. These questions are very important. They should be, I may post them on our website. These are 5 of them, all right? And I've read them before. What is stopping you from always being in communion with God? What is stopping you from always being in communion with God? Now understand, with God means with who you are in that body. What exactly is your relationship with God like? What is the relationship with you like? What exactly is your relationship with God like? What does it feel like when you are having a truly intimate connection with God? What does it feel like when you are having a truly intimate connection with you? The real you. Not the name, not the personality, not the character, not the clothes, not the status in life. How often do you recognize and connect with the divine aspects of yourself? How often do you recognize and connect with the divine aspects of God? How is your life different when living with this connection versus without it? How is your life different when living with this connection versus without it? These are all questions that we should all be constantly looking at, meditating on. The longer that we sit with these questions and feel into our answers, the deeper we will dig into our souls and eventually discover our spiritual connection. And what's interesting about this is that it's never too late to try and connect with the God you are within. Even if you have wasted 75 years, 85 years, 90 years of your life on gluttonous, frivolous, mindless activities, feeling perpetually lost in a superficial life, this God source is still here. The door to the divine is always open. God is waiting for us to come in. When we take one step towards God, God will take 10 steps towards us. And it boils down to making the decision, making the time to redefine our relationship with the divine. Now, I'll guarantee you that your precious time will not be wasted. When I explore my own personal connection with the divine, I first look into my heart rather than my head. I go down and I drop into my heart, I leave the head alone. Because when you go into the heart, you're not in the mind and the ego. Then you're in the now, and you're focused on your breath, and the ego mind can't go into the now because it doesn't exist. Because our heads are so full of ideas about what God is and is not. And our heads miss the real experience, feeling, and quality of godliness. When the mind is quiet, the only way the mind is quiet is when we go into our heart mind and we focus on our breath and we move into the now. The head misses the real experience, feeling, and quality of godliness when the mind is quiet, still, and single, pointed into the now. We all can instantly find that deeply alive spiritual feeling inside. The God source already exists within the heart and at the core of our souls. As we relaxed into this place, a timeless, deeply eternal, loving, conscious energy moves into us and relaxes every cell and fiber of our being. You may discover that God is the most mysterious thing in this universe. Perhaps because it is the universe. God exists in everyone and everything. And even those people that we may think are deeply disconnected. Some of us have wondered, how can such an amazing presence be so spatially close to us and still be so difficult to feel and see? It's like trying to lock or look into our own eyes without a mirror. It's trying to look into our own eyes without a mirror. We look out at life through these tiny black holes in our eyes. Taking them for granted and not realizing they exist at all because they are so close to us. Of course, except when, something goes wrong or things go awry, and then your eyesight's, you begin to pay attention, right? In a certain way. When something is too close to us, we're often unaware how precious it is. The same applies to noticing God. We are unaware of God until we take a step back and look deeper into our own reflection in the great mirror that is all around us. You ever sat somewhere out in nature and begin to contemplate, focus on your breath, and everywhere you look, that is that I am. That's part of me. That's part of me. Everything around me is part of me. Part of the God that I am. And we begin to, some of us will step into, through the heart mind, the realization of the self is realization of God. It is not an experience of God. It is an understanding that one is God from admiration. The most magnificent, phenomenal, magna glorious experience there is realizing in this life a direct relationship with the divine. And a lot of people believe that they got to travel and explore and traverse the external physical world year after year, sometimes lifetime after lifetime. That it is much easier to connect with God by relating to it as an isness rather than an it. It's much easier to connect with God by relating to it as an isness rather than an it. God is more like a mysterious infinite energy than some fixed, stagnant entity. The great isness is instantly found when we stop and feel into this eternal quality, which feels like we are always and forever here now. The isness is our infinite nature. And this can only be experienced when we are living fully in the now, exploring life from a relaxed, trusting connection. The divine isness is the most accepting, healing, forgiving energy any of us could imagine. The isness is the source of deep, eternal love, which when even momentarily welcome, we instantly feel the most profound, ecstatic joy inside our hearts. The knowing that we are eternal spiritual beings moves through us throughout the day. Like a healing river of eternal liquid love. The very second we surrender our hearts to just the idea of an eternally loving isness, we immediately find real peace, a sense of bliss, and a feeling of real satisfaction that cannot be compared. Knowing this isness is our basic nature. We start radiating like the sun and start shining our own spiritual essence onto everyone in our lives. The only reason we may not feel, believe, and know that God is right here within the very center of our body, soul, and heart right now is because of one thing blocking the way. And that would be our overly busy, demanding, controlling, and desiring mind. As long as the mind is wanting something, willing something, thinking it is lacking something, trying to reach a better place other than the great isness that's here now, we will easily miss our spiritual path. We will find ourselves living in thoughts about God instead of experiencing the real divinity, that which you truly are. If we get too lost in the head, we might end up walking into some highly intellectual, materialistic, and spiritually dry future. If we get too lost in the head, we might end up walking into some highly intellectual, materialistic, and spiritually dry future. Interestingly enough, the God source is infinitely complex, yet deeply simple. God is actually quite easy to experience. The discovery here is learning what it takes to fully be here now. To feel the divine isness, we must choose first to begin feeling whatever is up for us in this moment. Begin feeling whatever is up for us in this moment. We must choose to explore how we can let go of the mind and open ourselves up emotionally, feeling everything that is here now. When we call off the mental search, looking for God out there, and simply feel into the core essence of our being, we find that we have been the ones who were hiding and protecting ourselves from the divine. We find that we have been the ones who were hiding and protecting ourselves from the divine. God has always been here, is always here, radiating within every atom in existence. As we drop deeper beneath the thinking mind and through our blocked emotions, we discover the greatest source of peace, silence, and stillness. This is where the real you abides. This is where God abides. When we are still, when we focus on our breath and we move into the now, that's when we know that we are God. I believe most of us discover the most radical truth about this human existence is this. We humans are either existing in some form of suffering or living in some form of bliss. We're either existing in some form of suffering or living in some form of bliss. We are either in one or the other. We're either living it up in our heads or we are in the heart of God. And once we quiet the mind and open our hearts together, we can live a balanced life in both realms of head and heart. Doing this, we then begin merging with the infinite mind of God. If and when we can remain in this balance 24 hours a day, we will master this lifetime. Then, every thought we think manifests into forming our living reality. You see how it's connected? We begin merging with the infinite mind of God. Okay? Once we quiet the mind, open our hearts together, we can live a balanced life with both realms of head and heart. In doing this, we then start merging with the infinite mind of God. If and when we can remain in this balance 24 hours a day, we will master this lifetime, guaranteed. Then every thought we think manifests into forming our living reality. And by living in constant emotional connection with the divine from our core, we become a living, bliss-breathing manifestation machine, perpetually creating every beautiful idea we feel and focus upon. We become a living, bliss-breathing manifestation machine, perpetually creating every beautiful idea we feel and focus upon. Now, you've heard this statement before. There's really not many things guaranteed in this life, right? Yet one thing that is 100% guaranteed is this. At some point, you are going to return to God. It will happen either when your body is still alive or when your body stops breathing. Eventually, you'll feel intimately connected with God again. So there's really no worry about when or how. All roads lead back to God. The path ahead and the path and the past behind you both lead back to God. God is unavoidable because our past and future are just mental concepts which only exist within this living present moment. The mind alone is always blind to the divine. The mind alone is always blind to the divine. It is only with a quiet, surrendered mind that we may access an open, receptive heart which can see God in everyone and everything. The mind doesn't want to realize how ignorant it actually is. It doesn't want to see how powerless, unfulfilled, and trapped it is, as this would cause a huge embarrassment to the ego. Remember, the mind is an illusion. The mind created the ego to assist it, which is also an illusion. When we do spiritually wake up, the mind realizes its petty search in the outer world to find everlasting satisfaction is spiritually fruitless. Only when the mind surrenders to the divine do we discover what absolute bliss feels like. Otherwise, the mind will continue to persist in its addictive habits of seeking fulfillment in the outer world. It will ignore seeing how true bliss is available here, now, as it needs to continue its addictive search for years, decades, and lifetimes. The mind is always trying to get its desires met by people, food, substances, money, ideas, and is in the habit of constantly yearning for something. Yet, as we all know, once the mind gets what it wants, it's happy, but for only a short while. Then it's back on the hamster wheel again, searching for fulfillment again. The mind is deeply unaware that it can never, ever be truly satisfied. What a way to go, huh? It's good to know that whatever happens in this life, there are really no real mistakes. God is an infinitely positive, creative energy, and this fierce force does not know what a mistake is. Every mistake that we perceive to be real or true is simply the mind forming another judgment. There is the universal right or wrong book, right? There is only deeper shades of truth in which each higher layer only reveals a lighter perspective on our enlightening mission we are here to learn. Now, you may discover that the greatest goal of this life is to find that God source inside us 24 hours a day. This is the only thing which truly satisfies. Everything else falls vastly short. Feeling into our own personal, intimate connection with the divine is the most important thing we can do with our time each day. Everything else we do is going to be the ego seeking some form of gratification, which of course will not last. So it is prudent of us to beware of the ego, as it is easily caught in complaints, negativity, and creating problems that weren't there before. Our only job is to move beyond our egos, transcend our small selves, and step into the big self that we truly are. When we finally surrender to God at the center of our souls, we will know without a doubt that we have just discovered the most amazing experience of coming home. We are not a victim of our thoughts. Rather, we are the master behind them. When we realize and recognize how our minds are responsible for creating our reality in each and every moment, we suddenly wake up and automatically start creating the dream life that we all deserve. We really have no other choice than to manifest a totally amazing life when we're fully aware of the thoughts coursing through our brains. Now, it's interesting how many of us would like to believe that we are in charge of the mind. And thousands upon thousands of thoughts that it will be formulating just in this day. Yet, there is something much bigger beneath the surface, which is running the show and guiding us on a deeper level. Our subconscious mind is always here, like an eternal spring of water flowing continuously through our consciousness from beneath the ground. It's bubbling up the creation of our very thought, attitude, energy level, and the overall vibration that creates how we see this world. Our subconscious mind is a powerful, enlightened system which keeps us on track, holding us firm to our path, mission, and life purpose. It holds the foundation for what we believe that we deserve or don't deserve to manifest in our lives. The subconscious is what makes you, you. It is responsible for what you can allow to see in your perception of reality, and it never ever takes a vacation. Even when you are asleep at night, it is processing data, turning vital information into vivid dreams, which pour and filter back through you. As Marion Wright Edel stated, you really can change the world if you care enough. You really can change the world if you care enough. Now, the greatest news of all is that we can redirect our subconscious river of information to flow away from the stagnant pond of stuckness and towards the abundant sea of success. By learning how to befriend and access the deepest resource of information in our being, we can retrain it to attract anything that we desire. Anything. Now, for example, let's say that you say, I want more confidence, right? You can train the subconscious to believe that you are a lovable, amazing, highly vibrational being. You can teach it to believe anything you want and thus manifest any desire you have. You can imprint the subconscious with affirmations that make you feel worthy of financial freedom, a relationship that meets you on a soul-to-soul level, vibrant health, a new house, car, or anything you can imagine. When you feel deep down that you deserve to have something that something finds its way to you. This is the law of attraction, where similar thought frequencies magnetize the outcomes in the physical world. Perhaps the most rewarding part of learning how to tap into the hidden powers of our subconscious minds is the feeling that we are unstoppable in anything we want to experience. We can feel connected to an unlimited source of power, intelligence, and divine energy all day long. And there is truly nothing that we cannot experience once the subconscious mind is on our side. How do you do that? Imagination. By imagining you're creating a super loving, healing, and empowered new future ahead, using your creative imagination, we will tap into our subconscious mind and get a small taste of what it's like to create a new imprint on our life. Now take a few easy, slow, deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Make sure your body is right now. Make sure your body is in the now. Relax. And listen to these words very carefully, very easily. You're sitting on a beautiful Hawaiian beach, or whatever beach, Tahiti, Caribbean, with your hands and bare feet snuggled into the warm, soft sand. A gentle breeze is blowing behind you, caressing your entire body. You feel completely at peace. You gaze out across the vast blue ocean, watching the golden sun dipping into the horizon. The fresh ocean air is rich with healing oxygen. You take a full, deep breath and inhale the most expansive, heart-opening sensation you have ever experienced in your life. The feeling penetrates your entire body and mind. You are safe, loved, and held in the protective arms of this universe. Every wish, need, and desire you have is going to be preciously cared for the remainder of your life. How do you feel? Now, you're going to notice a shift in your heart, emotions, or overall energy. And visualizing this through your creative imagination, did you start to let go and relax into the experience? If you did allow yourself to trust in the feeling and emotions that arose out of the visualization, a positive chemical response is now flooding your brain, body, and bloodstream. As you begin to trust more in this feeling of relaxation, you start tapping into a more powerful, magnetic aspect of you. And the more you review and repeat this powerful visualization from a relaxed body state, the more deeply you impact the subconscious with positive feelings of trust and connection. Explore how deep you can go into trusting in feelings you receive from this visualization as often as you can. You'll soon see some amazing things begin manifesting out of the blue in the following days and weeks ahead. Now, some people believe that, if I'm just using positive imagery, that'll do it. But the discovery of that is that I can tell you, as far as manifesting is concerned, is that by only using positive imagery is not enough. You must choose to engage your feelings, bodily sensations, and emotionally taste what it is that you deeply want to experience. You must choose to engage your feelings, bodily sensations, and emotionally taste what it is that you deeply want to experience. You must choose to feel it as if it's already happening to you right now. Every one of us have the power to swing the pendulum of our life to manifest a life that feels better. Imagine what it's like to become physically healthier, naturally think more positively, and truly be a happier person by simply learning how to reprogram your mind. You will dramatically increase your ability to attract the life you desire. And with a little practice, you'll be able to attract anything and everything your heart desires. I'll join you in the meditation and I'll return to close us out. take an easy, slow breath in through the nose and an easy, slow breath out the mouth. Remain still. At the center of your being, there is an endless source of peace. It is beneath the fear, underneath the sorrow, and behind the demanding, impatient ego. When you emotionally drop deep down through all these layers, you arrive at a space that feels like infinity. It literally feels like limitlessness and intimate space in every dimension. Here, you find an eternal happiness that you cannot mistake for anything else. It is your real nature, this infinitely bubbling with happiness and pure awareness. The more often you relax through these layers every day and allow this healing happiness to shine through, the more you'll see that the whole universe is smiling with you. The overflowing river of joy is always available in this very now moment. Take this with you for the rest of the day and to the evening and night. In the following morning, we will return here, 9 p.m. tonight for the Time for Change call, and Thursday, September 29th, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation